This is Stephanie. Welcome to This Reader's Life. I have several books that I want to talk about this week, and one book that I need a little help with, if I can get it. This is This Reader's Life. Again, my name is Stephanie, and welcome or welcome back. I'm thrilled that you're here. And this week, of course, it's Thanksgiving week, so we're all extra busy probably. Thanksgiving is not at my house this year, so it makes it, it's at my sister's, who lives about an hour away. So sometime this afternoon, I'll be making some my sweet potato casserole. And I grew my own sweet potatoes this year, and I do garden quite a little bit. But at any rate, I don't have the whole, I don't have to do a turkey and the dressing and the mashed potatoes and so on and so forth. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's always a good family get together. But as far as books go, I do have several that I want to talk about, and some of them are a little bit different. I've done something just a little bit different this time. But before I start, I want to ask for some help. And I've searched for this particular book for a long time, and I have very little to go on, except for that I read it probably in the late 80s or mid 90s. And my memory is that the name of it was either In a High Place or From a High Place. I do not know the author. It was a paperback novel that I read. I would consider it literary fiction, and it was about a woman either living with a couple of small children or living alone someplace in Colorado in the mountains. She was new there. She wasn't a part of the town. And it wasn't a large town. And part of the story involves her having some children up in the mountains, and maybe she went there, maybe it was ill-advised for her to be there, and that she felt she wasn't frightened and that she could handle it, but a blizzard occurs, and she loses a child, not her own child, and she has to get the rest of the children or be rescued, I can't remember which, down from the mountain, but the one child is missing, and the child is not found in the searches that they might do. And I know that the child's body is found in the spring, and that is just about everything that I know about this book. Again, the words high place, from a high place, in a very high place, I cannot remember. I do not remember the author. And I would like to reread that book. It's been a long time since I read it. It obviously has stayed in my memory for a really long time. So that's something. If anybody has a thought or an idea, or I've done every search I can think of, every way I can think of, as far as online, and I've not been able to find anything. So that would be super helpful. I'd be really grateful. And then as far as, I'm going to go through books that I've read in the past couple of weeks, books that I'm currently reading, and some of those are a repeat from last week, and then some to-be-reads that I'm kind of excited about the way that I found them and the way that, and what I ended up with. So the first book is The Marriage Portrait, and I mentioned The Marriage Portrait last week. I was still reading it. I hadn't finished it, I don't think, and it was not nonfiction, and I was doing a nonfiction video. So this week I will tell you a little bit about The Marriage Portrait. It was published recently, I want to say 2022, and it is by Maggie O'Farrell, who is an Irish writer who's well known and considered to be a good writer. And I did enjoy this book. This was very good. It was about Lucretia di Cosimo Medici, who was married more or less by contract at, I believe she was 15 when she was actually married, but she was 13 when the decision was made. She was not thrilled about it. She was the daughter of a duke in Italy in the middle 1500s, I think. She was very privileged, had a lovely life, and her older sister died unexpectedly, and her father and the Duke of Ferrara made a contract, developed a dowry, which in today's in today's dollars, it would have been about $8 million. So obviously this was a very important match. Lucretia went to her father, who loved her very much, and told him, I do not want to do this. And her father told her, you'll be fine, and you're going to do it. It'll be wonderful. And so she is married off and taken away. She's still in Italy, but she is not close to home any longer. And she's married to this man who she does not know well. He's twice her age, or almost twice her age. And she's sort of been ripped out from what she's accustomed to, and has no idea what happens next. The Duke is very loving to her initially. He truly wants an heir. That's the most important thing that's going on here. There's a lot of political unrest and religious reform going on at the time, and he desperately needs an heir. He does not want to lose his dukedom. He has two sisters that are living at the mansion that they live in, or the palace that they live in, on the property, and one of the sisters is not at all friendly, and the other sister makes friends with her almost immediately, mostly because she needs to use Lucretia as a cover for a relationship that she's having with someone who would be considered unacceptable. At any rate, the Duke begins to show signs of frustration. He orders a marriage portrait to be made of her, and chooses the outfit that she'll be wearing, and chooses the artist. She sits for it, and she because of the sister who's talking to her quite a little bit, and Lucretia figures out, she's a smart girl, she figures out right away what's going on, and that she's sort of being used as a cover, but it's as close as she's got to a friend. And when she begins to know that she's in trouble, when first she doesn't get pregnant, second, her sister, the sister that is a friend to her sister-in-law, disappears unexpectedly, and she knows that something has happened. She knows that she's been caught in her illicit affair, and she disappears, and Lucretia is able to hear a good deal about what happens in the middle of the night, and knows that whatever's going on, the sister is begging not to be punished, or to be hurt, or to be taken away. And the next day she's simply gone with not much of an explanation. And at that point, Lucretia becomes frightened. The marriage portrait is finished. And she's not feeling well. And she feels that perhaps that the Duke, who she truly wants to love, is maybe going to kill her. And so she's in fear for her life. And I'm going to kind of stop right there, and I don't want to spoil anything for someone who chooses to read it. I did like this book. I thought it was very well written. I was excited to know what was going to happen next. However, what I knew up front that I wish I would have enjoyed the book more had I not known this, is that this is based on a true story. And it is, Lucretia was only married to this Duke for about a year, and then she died. According to historical documents, she died of something called putrid fever, or perhaps pulmonary tuberculosis. So that's the explanation of her death. She was sickly for quite some time, died after about a month, and there was some talk that because she failed to produce an heir, that perhaps the Duke had somehow gotten rid of her. The end of the book seemed a little bit, it's very fictionalized, and it seemed a little bit fantastic to me. Fantastic in that I rolled my eyes a little bit and thought, I don't think this is likely. Had I not known the true story of Lucretia, I think I would have, if she had not been based on a real person, or I'd not been aware of it, I could have accepted it in a different way, if that makes any sense. I wanted to love the end of the story. It was very clever, and I didn't, because of what I already knew. So it's worth reading, definitely worth reading. Read it with an open mind. It starts just a little bit slow, but it's well written, and I did enjoy it. I would give it about 3.5 stars. It's not going to be something that I would reread or come back to. However, I might read more about Lucretia in a non-fictional type of situation. So that's the marriage portrait. The next one that I'm going to talk about is, it was called So Far Gone, and it was published, I believe, I'm trying to remember, and I'm sorry, I will put that up. But it's called So Far Gone by Jess Walters. He's a well-known author and has had some big sellers. Beautiful Ruins is one that he wrote that I read several years ago that I enjoyed. And So Far Gone is about a journalist who is retired. He's also a bit of an environmentalist, and he's very intelligent. He's divorced. He has a daughter who has married a sort of a religious cult type of figure, not the head of the cult, but and the cult itself is, they have a militia. They're very militant. They're very much anti-government, and the journalist, his name is Reese, he just sort of can't believe it, and he's argued with his son-in-law a good deal, and the story begins on Thanksgiving Day, and he's promised his daughter, who he's always tried to be close to, he's promised his daughter that he will not fight with Shane, her husband, and he has 2 grandchildren who he adores, who he enjoys spending time with, and he's watching TV with Shane in the living room, and Shane starts in about the government and about how the game that they're watching on TV, it's the Patriots against someone, and how the game has been fixed because everything is fixed and everything is planned, and it's all going in a certain direction to take over everyone's lives. And Reese tries to argue a little bit, and finally, or tries to just go along with it a little bit, and finally completely loses his temper and hits his son-in-law and leaves in kind of a hurry. As he leaves, he throws his cell phone out the window, and he ends up living off-grid as sort of a hermit or a recluse in a cabin that was very run down, that he had lived in, or that he had visited as a child. It was family property. So that's where he's lived for quite some time, when a woman comes and delivers his 2 grandchildren, who are probably about 10 and 13, to his doorstep, gives him a letter from his daughter that says, "Dad, take care of the kids. I had to get out of here." She doesn't say where she is, and so he's got these 2 grandchildren who are pretty well adjusted for kids that have been raised in kind of a cultish militia camp type of situation. And the next thing that happens is he's trying to make his relationship with his grandchildren work, and when he takes his grandson to a chess tournament, which is, there's a whole story behind that as well, but when he does that, his children are kidnapped by this militia group. And so the story takes off from there, and it really becomes a little bit of a romp. It's kind of wild, it's kind of zany. There's a lot of introspection. There's a lot of him thinking about the way the world is now, since he's been out of it for a while, how hard it is for him to accept all the different changes that have happened, how he gets his grandchildren back, and then goes to find his daughter. And I enjoyed the book immensely. Everything about it is, well, it's deep and it's fun, if that makes any sense, which is a fun way, a fun book to read, and yet very good. It really makes you think. There's a lot, there are themes of isolation and reconciliation, relationships, and change, and it's also sort of a social satire or social commentary. But I did enjoy that book very much. I would give it 4.5 stars if I were putting stars out there on Goodreads. I do Goodreads, but I don't keep up with it. Let's talk about what I'm currently reading. The first one is, I mentioned it last time, it is called The Honeycomb. It's Adela Rogers St. John. It was written in 1969. It is certainly not a new book. It's an autobiography, and I'm enjoying it immensely, but it is truly a slow read. I'm about 150 pages in. I love her style of writing. She has her sentences are very dense. Some of them are quite long, and her syntax is a little bit different. But I enjoy it immensely. But I am reading it slowly, and I'm anxious to get past World War I. I know that she was one of the first. She was the first woman to be sent overseas. I'm not sure it was to the front lines, but she was sent to report on World War I. Her career was just very interesting, and I watched an interview of her on Johnny Carson from The Tonight Show from a long time ago. I think in the 1970s. And she's a delightful woman to watch, and she interviews quite well. And she was not a women's libber per se. However, she was a working mom as early as 1914. So I know that I sense that she was uncomfortable with some of the decisions that she made in order to be able to do both. And she was definitely had to think very, very hard about whether her career or how in the world she could make it work with her career and her children. I didn't say that well, but it's there in the book that she's so divided. The other book that I just started reading, and it's one that I picked off of the bookshelf at the library simply because I was looking. I didn't read the back of it first. I was familiar with the author, although I've not read him, but I picked it because it was short. That was the main reason. I wanted to get through a couple of books and not be quite so persnickety is the word I think of. Not so picky about what it is I'm going to read, and let the book surprise me a little bit. So that's what this book for me is going to be all about, and it is called Until August. It is by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. It was published after his death. He is a Colombian writer who is known. Well, he won both he's well known, the Pulitzer Prize, the Nobel Prize, and all, of course, so his works are translated. He wrote in Spanish, and he wrote Love in the Time of Cholera and 100 Years of Solitude, neither of which have I read. This one is called Until August, and it's quite short. I don't think, it might be 100 pages. I don't know that it is. About 90 pages or so. But I've read the first page. I know what it is about in the first couple of pages. It's a female protagonist, which is the only time he ever wrote with a female protagonist. He was not happy with this book when he finished it. He definitely had dementia and memory loss in the last part of his life, and his family decided that perhaps he was just simply unaware that it was actually a very publishable book, and they found a good translator and decided to go ahead and publish. He died in 2014, and the book was published in 2024. It is about a woman who has been married for 27 years, more than half her life. She has a couple of kids. She's happily married, has no desire to change anything. After her mother passes away, she goes to an island where her mother requested to be buried, and she goes by herself. She takes flowers to her mother's grave using the same taxi driver every time, and she dresses up and goes someplace, finds a man, has a relationship with him, and as in one night stand. It's, as far as I know, she does it. That's the way it's portrayed, as a one-time only type of thing. And then she goes home and resumes her life. I am anxious to read this book. It's very different, not the type of thing that I normally read, and and so I'm looking forward to see how it goes. And I'm just so excited that this is what I picked by accident, which is kind of fun. So there was that one. The next book that I went to the library specifically to get was one that one of the girls in my book club, one of the ladies in my book club, suggested that we try sometime, and it is a Jane Austen book. I am not a Jane Austen fan, and I sort of wish I would. I feel like I'm missing something by not having read all of her books. So she recommended that I start with Austen's last book, which is Persuasion, and it was published after Jane Austen died. I don't know a lot about the book, and I do not know a lot about Jane Austen, other than she is absolutely revered and idolized as a writer, and I would like to understand that better. It was explained to me that this is a very, very sweet romance, and it's maybe a little bit more sophisticated than her others, and I'm looking forward to reading it. And when I know a little bit more about it, I will let you guys know what I thought. So that's one. The other book that I went and got at the library, which I went for a specific type of book, and I'm not 100% sure that's what I brought home, but I was looking for something kind of cozy and definitely something Christmassy, and what I chose was Nora Roberts' The Gift. It was published fairly recently, but there are 2 novellas in this book. Each of them have about 10 chapters, and one is titled Home for Christmas, and the other is titled All I Want for Christmas. And Nora Roberts is a known author. She's very prolific. Something I didn't realize, and when I was looking at this and when I was looking at some of her older books, and I've read a couple of her books from probably the 90s, is that she was published quite a bit by Silhouette Romance. And those Silhouette romances are published by Harlequin Publishing. And I read Harlequin novels when I was a teenager in junior high and high school, and I kind of grew out of them. But I'm looking forward to reading this. I'm going to start on December 1st. There are 10 chapters in each of these little novels or novellas, and I'm giving myself a little leeway, but I'll try to read a chapter a day and just see what I think. I was sort of shooting for a cozy novel. I know there are cozy mysteries. The whole cozy genre is, I just don't understand exactly what it is. And I know some of them involve like recipes, and some of them involve certain crafts like crochet or knitting. Seems like there's a lot of cats in a lot of them. I don't know. I don't read cozy novels, but I'm interested in it. And if anyone has any ideas for a really, really enjoyable cozy novel, if they have a favorite or anything like that, if that's your genre, I would love to know more about it. And I would love to read something that somebody who reads that and enjoys it could tell me this is a good one to read. And it doesn't have to be a series. I don't know that I'm going to go on, but if it is a series, that's fine. Just tell me what the first one is. So that is another book. And then the other book that I chose off the shelf, and I chose it for its title, and there's nothing more to it than that. This is what it looked like when I saw it. It says Mercy House by Elena Dillon, and it was published in 2020. I did not read the back of it before I came home. I've read the back of it since, and that's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to read the back of it to you, and it might qualify as a cozy book, but I'm looking really, really fortunate, or really, really forward to reading it. It is again, it's called Mercy House. It's by Elena Dillon. It was a debut. And on the front it says, a life-altering debut featuring fierce, funny, and irreverent women who battle the most powerful institution in the world. This is the book we've all been waiting for. And that was Amy Schumer who gave that review. And on the back it says, inside a century-old row house in Brooklyn, renegade Sister Evelyn and her fellow nuns preside over a safe haven for the abused and abandoned. Gruff and indomitable on the surface, warm and wry underneath, Evelyn is daunted by little, until she receives word that Mercy House will be investigated by Bishop Hawkins, a man with whom she shares a dark history. In order to protect everything they've built, the nuns must conceal many of their methods, which are forbidden by the Catholic Church. Evelyn will go to great lengths to defend all that she loves. She confronts a gang member, defies the church, challenges her own beliefs, and faces her past. She is bolstered by the other nuns and by the vibrant, diverse residents of the shelter: Lucia, Mei Lee, Desiree, Esther, and Katrina, whose differences are outweighed by what unites them. They've all been broken by men, but are determined to rebuild. Amidst her fight, Evelyn discovers the extraordinary power of money and the grace it grants, not just to those who receive it, but to those strong enough to bestow it. And I think this sounds like just such a lovely book, and that hopefully it's funny and meaningful. And I can't think of anything more satisfying than reading about and understanding grace and mercy. So I'm looking forward to reading this book, and I will let you know what I think about it after it's been read. It's probably not going to be before the end of this week. Thanksgiving is coming up. I'm excited about it, and I hope you all have fun plans. And whether you keep it super low key or you have those huge family gatherings, it makes me think of the Homecoming. If any of you remember that from TV years ago, it was the start of the Waltons, basically. And I can remember when it was on TV, it was something I really enjoyed. I liked Mary Ellen, I believe, because she called her little sister a pissant, and I thought that was hysterical. At any rate, have a wonderful holiday. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and be kind to the planet. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.